Imagine walking into a room to install this massive $20,000 custom reception desk.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right, so you walk in only to realize the electricians completely moved the floor outlets overnight.
Oh no, that is a nightmare.
And it gets worse. The drywall guys, they added an extra layer that somehow shrank the entire room by half an inch.
Which is huge when you're dealing with custom builds.
Exactly. And the absolute ticker is there's this massive, totally immovable concrete pillar right where the receptionist's chair is supposed to go.
I mean, you can't just move a structural pillar.
No. And you can't exactly return a $20,000 desk to the store either. So what do? You have to figure out a way to make it look like that desk was just, destined to be there all along.
And that, right there, that is the ultimate illusion of good design.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because when you walk into a building and interact with a built-in counter or a reception area, it just feels inevitable.
Like it just dropped out of the sky, perfectly formed.
Exactly. You just assume it was always meant to be exactly like that. But what you were really looking at is this absolute masterclass in hiding friction.
Hiding friction, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see the frantic behind-the-scenes problem-solving
Hmm.
or the months of maneuvering around all those unmovable structural flaws. You just see this sleek, seamless counter.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that hidden friction is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
It's such a fascinating topic.
It really is. We are exploring the often totally unseen world of custom commercial millwork.
Which most people walk right past without a second thought.
Literally every single day. We've got a stack of notes and a very specific case study today. We're looking at a county correctional facility that was undergoing a massive renovation of their reception desk.
Right.
And the goal here is to really uncover the intense problem solving and, honestly, the deeply human relationship building that goes into the spaces you interact with all the time.
Framing the source material is really important, too, before we get too deep into the physical desk itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the builder we are looking at in this case study, they're actually most famous for designing high-end athletic locker rooms.
Like stadium locker rooms.
Yeah, professional stadiums, universities, that kind of thing. That is their traditional bread and butter.
Okay, so a county correctional facility is quite a pivot.
It is. But what becomes immediately apparent when you look at this county facility project is that the true essence of their work, whether they are building hospitality spaces, clubhouses, or municipal buildings, it isn't just woodworking.
Right, it's bigger than that.
It's architectural problem solving at its core.
I have to admit, when I first read through the notes on this, the most surprising part wasn't the physical wood or the fancy stainless steel.
What stood out to you?
It was how this project actually got off the ground in the first place. Because the origin story of this specific reception desk essentially dictates the entire philosophy of the build.
It really does set the stage.
Right. It didn't start with a blueprint, and it definitely didn't start with, like, a catalog. It started with what you might honestly call a failure.
Or, at the very least, a missed connection.
A misconnection, yeah. So looking at the timeline in our sources, this builder originally collaborated with a general contractor on an athletic facility project months prior.
Their usual wheelhouse.
Exactly. And for whatever reason, that athletic project just ultimately went in a different direction. The builder didn't get the final nod for that specific job.
Which happens all the time in construction.
Right. But instead of just walking away, burning the bridge, and, aggressively moving on to the next bid, they deliberately kept the relationship with that contractor alive.
Which runs completely counter to how a lot of highly competitive construction industries operate.
Oh, totally.
Usually it's this fiercely transactional environment. You bid, you win or you lose, and you immediately move on to the next target.
Just churning through leads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Taking the time to nurture a relationship that literally just cost you money and lost bid time, that is extremely rare.
The source material actually quotes Grace Parker on this, and her perspective really stuck with me.
What'd you say?
She says, "We always tell people to keep us in mind if something else comes up. You never know where a conversation is going to lead."
That's a great mindset.
It really is. It reminds me of going on this big, high-stakes job interview, making it all the way to the final round, but then losing out to an internal candidate.
Oh, that is the worst feeling.
Right. But instead of being bitter about it, you leave such a great professional impression that the hiring manager literally calls you back 6 months later to offer you an even better, completely unlisted position.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you really have to understand the environment these general contractors operate in on a daily basis.
It's pretty chaotic, right?
Chaotic is putting it lightly. High-stakes renovations are incredibly stressful and notoriously unpredictable.
Yeah.
I mean, budgets are always tight, timelines are constantly slipping.
Materials get delayed.
Exactly. Materials are late, and things just always go wrong.
Yeah.
So in that chaotic environment, trust actually becomes the ultimate currency.
Wait, but I want to push back on that just a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Because if I'm a general contractor, right, and I'm renovating a county correctional facility, and I suddenly need a complex reception desk, I have a strict budget to maintain.
Especially with a county job.
Exactly, it's public money. So why wouldn't I just blast out an online form to 50 local vendors? Or send out a bunch of cold calls to get the absolute lowest possible bid? Why go back to a locker room builder I didn't even use last time?
That's a fair question, but here's the thing. A low bid doesn't guarantee a solved problem.
Okay,
In fact, it often just guarantees a much cheaper headache.
that makes a lot of sense.
Right. The contractor remembered this builder not because of some finished product they delivered, but because of how they handled themselves during the bidding and design phase of that previous athletic project.
Ah, so it was their process.
Yes, the contractor knew firsthand that this builder would actually answer the phone when things inevitably went sideways.
Which is huge.
It's everything. They knew they would communicate clearly. This kind of commercial business is built entirely on baseline reliability.
So they aren't just buying the wood.
No, the contractor knew they were buying a team that would tackle challenges with them, not just some random vendor who would drop off a desk and immediately send an invoice.
So they are actively buying the problem solvers. But, winning the bid on trust only really gets you into the room.
Yeah, that's just step one.
Right. Once you're inside, that trust is immediately put to the test by the physical, messy reality of the space itself. And this county correctional facility presented a highly complicated, really difficult environment.
Well, the mandate from the county was fairly straightforward on paper, at least.
They usually are on paper.
Right, it was just replace this aging reception area with something modern and clean.
The notes emphasized they wanted nothing flashy or overcomplicated, just highly, highly functional.
But the reality of renovations is that there is no such thing as a perfect empty room just waiting nicely for furniture.
Never.
The team walked in and had to deal with all these crazy pre-existing conditions. Highly complex electrical requirements pulling from old, outdated grids.
Yeah. Unexpected floor measurements. And the absolute kicker there were massive structural columns right dead in the middle of the reception space.
Literally immovable concrete objects just holding up the ceiling.
Let me stop you right there, because if I am personally looking at a room with wavy floors and massive concrete columns, my immediate instinct is to just avoid them entirely.
That's dear clear.
Yeah.
Huh.
Why not just buy a really nice standard desk from a commercial furniture catalog, plop it in the room like 3 feet away from the column, and just save yourself the massive headache?
It sounds tempting.
Why go through the incredible trouble of designing and manufacturing custom millwork for a county facility?
What's fascinating here is the fundamental difference between standard catalog furniture and custom commercial millwork.
Okay, break that down for me.
It is a distinction that truly defines how a space actually functions for the people working in it. If you buy a catalog desk, that desk was designed in a vacuum.
Like in a perfect 3D rendering somewhere.
Exactly. It assumes a perfect room with perfectly straight walls and level floors, so it forces the room to adapt to it.
Which doesn't work if you have a massive pillar.
Right. If you have a structural column, a catalog desk just awkwardly bumps up against it.
Yeah.
Or, like you said, you have to leave dead space.
Just a weird 3-foot gap.
And that creates these weird gaps where pens and important papers fall, and it introduces tripping hazards. It's just a mess.
I see what you're saying. It basically fights the room.
It absolutely fights the room.
Yeah.
But custom millwork, built to fit architectural elements, it absorbs the room's flaws.
Absorbs them.
Yes, it doesn't fight the space, it fully embraces it. In this case study, the builder didn't just work around those structural columns, they integrated the columns directly into the design of the desk itself.
Wow. So it's almost like a camouflage technique. You draw the eye to the woodwork so the ugly concrete column just sort of disappears into the overall design.
Yes, but it goes way deeper than just visual camouflage. It is physical integration. They use this technique called scribing. You can't just push a straight, perfectly cut piece of wood against a concrete column, because concrete is never perfectly straight.
Right. It's porous and bumpy.
Exactly. It's wavy and highly textured. So these custom carpenters, they literally take a specialized compass and they trace the irregular bumpy contour of that specific concrete pillar directly onto a piece of wood.
Wait, they trace every single bump
every single groove.
Okay.
And then they cut the wood so it perfectly seamlessly hugs every single bump and imperfection of that specific column.
That is incredible. I had no idea that was a thing. So the column essentially becomes part of the furniture.
Exactly. The desk wraps completely around it, it utilizes it, and it makes it look totally intentional.
That's wild.
Custom millwork takes all those existing electrical conduits, the weird slanted wall angles, the unyielding columns, and it synthesizes them all into a single, seamless piece of architecture.
Okay, but transforming a crooked concrete obstacle into a seamless design element is definitely not something that happens on a first draft.
Oh, absolutely not.
The source material actually outlines the mechanics of how this practically gets done, and it is a rigorous, incredibly iterative process.
Rigorous is almost an understatement when you look at the sheer amount of coordination required.
Right. The notes outline this sequence. It starts with initial, super precise measurements. Then they create 3D renderings.
Which take a lot of time.
And then they review those layouts with the client and the general contractor. Then they make adjustments based on that.
The whole loop.
Yeah. And then they ask a bunch of detailed questions to clarify the specific daily needs of the county staff. And then, you guessed it, they make even more adjustments.
And that level of intense ongoing coordination is absolutely mandatory because you are trying to match off-site custom fabrication with a larger, actively moving construction schedule on-site.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me.
Go ahead.
Reading through this coordination process, I couldn't help but compare it to, like, tailoring a bespoke suit.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
But with a massive catch. It's like you are trying to tailor this